Hey, welcome to today's Intangibles for Performance presented to you by A-Mind Training. Myself, Chris Beach, and today we'll be talking about the fourth flourishing strength, which is the skill of emotional awareness and regulation. And now this one is, they're all critical to performing, critical to well-being in any environment, whether you're an athlete, student, career, all three, personal life. All these strengths are critical. But for me, and they're all interconnected. They're all interconnected in a way. But for me, this one is massive. From my point of view, massive, and it is for a variety of different reasons. For one, it's just you got to be able to manage the emotional life of the experience. Whether it's the overarching aspirations, the macro environment, so the ups and downs of pursuing your dream, your aspiration, or it's the micro environment, whether you're in a game, managing the emotional life of a game, the performance ups and downs, the referees, the managing coaches, managing your teammates. So this is huge on a variety of different levels. My video series right now, we're at a point where, again, I'm linking these things to my real world experience. So just to summarize, okay, we got a hyped overload young athlete, somewhat confident, optimistic, as we talked about in the previous video, building on that external validation, so somewhat fragile optimism and confidence. Highly ranked young player up until junior, successful 2 years of junior, 7th overall to the Capitals. Went to my first training camp as an 18-year-old. Got to skate alongside guys like Adam Oates, Peter Bondra, Sergei Gonchar, players I idolized growing up and playing. So phenomenal experience, and Adam Oates would teach me some things on the face-offs that I used my entire career. So played another year junior as an 18-year-old. A great team, ranked number one in the country. But just couldn't get the job done in the playoffs. Probably a better team than we had the year before, where we actually won the league and went to the Memorial Cup. Couldn't get it done, and then as a 19-year-old, heading into my second training camp with the Capitals, I knew probably as my first camp I wasn't going to make the team, but as a 19-year-old, I figured I had a good opportunity to make that club, and that's what I headed there to do. Now I was heading there with a bit of an injury. I unfortunately ran into a young prospect in Calgary Hitman camp, a 15-year-old by the name of Ryan Getzlaff, and essentially separated my right shoulder. So I headed into that camp with a bit of an injury in Washington, but still played well and ended up making that team and signing my first NHL contract. So at the age of 19, hype overload, making the Washington Capitals, signing my first deal, and at that time first rounders were getting $1 million signing bonuses. So you got a young guy, pretty big ego, throw $1 million at him, not so grounded. Interesting things can happen. So lots of success and excitement, but didn't last. I spent 4 games there before they sent me back to Calgary to finish off my junior career. So back to Calgary I went, and with all that money, bought a nice new car. Thought I was pretty much a big dog in Calgary there. But anyways, we had a good team, and I think we had a fun year that year. Now, obviously, managing those ups and downs is important. In particular, managing the success and things that can come along with that, including expectation. And to date, we haven't even spoken about some other aspects of my personal life that factored in. I know I mentioned managing a post-traumatic stress eating disorder, an anxiety disorder, managing relationships, managing family interactions, and then we haven't really touched on the element of partying and that element of team sport. Alcohol is something that definitely factored into how I managed my whole career, and what started out as a way to bond with teammates, and innocent enough, would be gradually factored into how I managed the emotional life of the experience. So something that I won't get into too much detail about today, but it'll come later in the video series. So lots going on, and this is why emotional awareness and regulation is so critical in so many different ways. So after that year of junior, head into my off season as a 19-20 year old, training down in the Lower Mainland, living with my brother. And one summer day I get a call, and on the other end of the line is the head scout of the Washington Capitals. And I've talked to him a number of times over the last couple of years, obviously, and he just lets me know that I was traded. And out of nowhere, I had no expectation, heard nothing of the sort. And that trade was essentially one of the bigger trades in that era, and it saw Jaromir Jagr go from the Pittsburgh Penguins, leading scorer in the league, to the Washington Capitals in return for myself and two other prospects. So I was a first rounder, and the other two were second rounders. And then there was quite a bit of money involved in that deal as well, which I think at the time the Penguins were unloading whoever they could. So it was a bit of disappointment, because I was leaving the Capitals organization. They treated me very well, but then heading into a new situation, and as soon as he said Pittsburgh, I realized that I was going to get an opportunity to meet the big man, number 66, and the best player in my mind ever to play the game. Huge idol of mine, and not only meet him, but in fact skate and play alongside of him, as well as other players. I mean, Alexei Kovalev was there, Robert Lang, Martin Straka. These guys were guys I looked up to hugely as well. So I remember that vividly, getting off the phone, saying to my brother, been traded, and then just high-fiving to the fact that I'd be able to meet my idol, Mario Lemieux. So again, in that deal, there's a lot of chatter around that deal, a lot of hype, new organization, same comparisons. Heading into that organization, now potential franchise player for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ron Francis was being thrown around in terms of my skill set. So again, feeding that ego, that external validation, and again, success, all these things, this emotional ride, your ability to navigate that, stay humble, stay grounded, stay focused on the task at hand is critical to being a consistent performer and doing it in a healthy way. And like I said, lots of tools you can work on to improve emotional awareness and regulation. It's definitely a skill, and I look forward to filling you in on a few of those skills in the future.